Good evening, everybody. It was tempting to say we should all stay out there. What a gorgeous evening. I had never noticed before this very moment the Dharma incomparably profound. Even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages, we rarely encounter it. And actually, that span of time pertains to the thought that I want to share tonight about our human endowment, which is consciousness, and how consciousness is so much part of the evolution of our species. And the capacity that we all have to become so much more aware and really appreciate consciousness, what a miracle consciousness is, and it's such a mystery as well. So I'm going to dip into this inquiry a bit, which is it's not a standard portion of Buddha teachings, usually, because the Buddha really declined to comment on questions. What he was doing was investigating the nature of the human condition. And that's what we do in our practice. But we can't help but notice how the human condition is becoming ever more sick. There's a lot of evidence that suggests that, we've been evolving in this particular iteration physically, anatomically, for about 300,000 years. And we were much healthier long ago, except for what happened when we had an accident or confronted a beast larger than ourselves, or there was a pandemic. And there were some, but when the human population was so much less, and we were so spread out, the condition for an epidemic was not in place the way it is now. Ever more seriously, we are in a position to suffer one epidemic after another. We're so close together. We're 8 billion people, and within by 2030, we're supposed to double that population, or very, very quickly. So I wanted to share some words from Kwong Lu, who was a student of Thich Nhat Hanh's, one of his successors, who said, real happiness cannot be possessed. It is inter-happiness. The more we share it, the stronger it becomes. It is peace without borders, embracing everything. Inter-happiness doesn't belong to anyone. We all benefit from it. When we believe happiness has limits, when we see life from the perspective of a self, we miss the chance to enjoy life's wonders. And we also miss the significance of consciousness. When we have gathered all of our sensibility around a personal self, we are missing much, much more of what is true, of our own personal capacity and the capacity of the human population if we were to all awaken to consciousness. We're really fortunate to come across this practice. It's unusual. to come across a practice that is so rooted in inquiry. The history of Buddhism has shared with all of the other major religious traditions a set of beliefs, some of which have been held as narrowly as and fundamentally, as in every other tradition. But where we've gotten to now is we're recognizing, especially in this culture, that it is essential possibly to survival of life on this planet to awaken, independent of the rites and rituals of a formal religion. The rites and rituals that we share here help, because we all have a devotional heart, some of us a lot more than others. Devotion is much more significant for some of us than for others. Some people come to Zen because they don't want the trappings of religion. And others come and are relieved that there is a way to surrender to the kind of the spiritual choreography of an ancient tradition, an ancient lineage. We learn chanting, we learn bowing, we offer incense, we dedicate our practice. These are all kind of ritual enactments of the human spirit and the importance and the recognition of interdependence, interbeing. There's something about ritual done with other people that is very relaxing, soothing, gladdening. The emphasis that we have in Buddhism on Sangha really nourishes us. No matter what kind of families we come from or what religious traditions we come out of, we have an opportunity in this particular form to enjoy fellowship in a very deep way. So part of our technology in this tradition, first let me talk about technology. So we are the tool-making species, although we now recognize that a lot of other species make tools, but not to the extent that we have, not to the extent that we have exploited the Earth's offerings and transmuted so much of the materials of the Earth into our tools. So we have this genius for tool making, for technology, which has brought us to the edge of extinction, and certainly has extinguished a lot of our companion species on the planet. So that's a capacity that's out of balance with the other genius that we have, the other capacity that we have for consciousness, and that we have not developed it much beyond where we were originally, is, in my view, accounts a bit for the tremendous imbalance and the terrific confusion that we have, the ethical confusion that the whole world is kind of dealing with now. How do we move beyond this moment of crisis in the natural world, in the human world, and in the world of all species, and what has been identified as the profound loneliness that we are feeling? Sometimes you can go walking and not hear a bird song. In many, many places, there's no fresh water to drink any longer. It's not dark enough to see the infinite stars. So we have come to conditions that have grown out of our technological brilliance and forgotten a whole portion of what brings meaning to human beings, sense of connection, of the sacred that is freely given to any of us, no matter what our station in life. So one of the things that's, I think, is really true is the practicality of Dharma practice. So often I hear, and you may also feel, well, what good is it? What good is meditating, sitting and contemplating my navel? What good is it? Well, it's not like it's not like AI. AI, which is, in recent times, like in the last 100 years, and more recently, kind of in the last decade, we've become so aware, and the natural sciences have become so interested in what is consciousness. As Dalai Lama said once, there is no proof of such a thing as consciousness, and yet we all know it. So science now has its hands on this question. And one of the first ways that, there are many people of many different persuasions and views working with this. But one of the first things that we've come up with is the technology of consciousness in the form of AI. And AI gathers its mind of information from probably the most debased form of human knowledge, which is the internet. It's a great demonstration of how important direct consciousness is, not derivative information. So it's an open question whether any of this matters. I mean, any of what we do in practice matters in the bigger sense of survival of the species or of all life on this planet. It certainly doesn't look good at the moment. It's hard to picture how we're going to survive. But each of us individually who practice can readily identify what good meditation is in our life. It's subtle. Sometimes it's very subtle. But it's distinctly true that our mentation sorts out a bit. Our hearts relax a bit. Our sense of caring increases, and recognizing the basic nature of all those who we deal with in life. We become much more sympathetic to others' experience and to our own. Maybe even most significantly, we begin to really recognize the inner critic that bedevils and makes this life so stressful and is not accurate. It's not a friendly inner voice. So that's one thing that we really get as we work with our own plain, direct awareness practice. We learn how to concentrate and not to follow every single thought. We also learn to notice thoughts. I mean, how many of you, that's certainly true for me, it was like a revelation when I realized, oh, that's a thought. To be able to have enough spaciousness in our awareness to recognize thought, feeling, impulse, plan, judgment, aversion, attraction. I mean, there's just no end to the particular quality of what occupies our minds and our attention. And it's very helpful to be that tuned in, because then we have so many choices. We can choose to live according, we teach precepts, which are wonderfully vast. We can choose not to say something that is mean, not to say something that is, that undermines somebody's confidence in himself. There's so many ways that we use speech unskillfully, and when we get more aware of it, we can refrain, and we can become much more skillful in how we use this instrument of a self and our life energy for benefit and to heal our own sorrow and difficulty, to tolerate our own difficulties. If we don't know what to do about them, we can at least tolerate them. Notice that everything is conditioned. I mean, all the Buddhist teachings are so practical and so helpful and so applicable to how we work with our own experience. Let's see, I wonder what I was going to say tonight. I think I'm pretty covering it. Yesterday we had our Kinhin retreat out at Finley, which was wonderful. And at the end in the sharing circle, somebody who does not practice Zen, but really, really liked being able to walk in silence with friendly people, right? And it's a beautiful trail. It's about 2 miles long. And at the end, he said, I have this sense of majesty. And it made me think of we call this the noble way, the noble eightfold path, right? That describes, and majesty is a wonderful word. It also applies the sense of profound integrity and respect and appreciation for our realm. In all of its confusion and difficulties, it's magnificent. And when we have gained consciousness and we return to being conscious, we can get very distracted. Even after years of practice, it happens. We are conditioned, we are ecological beings. So whatever the atmosphere is that surrounds us, we are influenced, and we influence. So we can get very drawn into the drama of our workplace or our family. And then, because we have a habit of practice, we can come back and relax and remember the majesty of awareness, of consciousness. And just as we are affected by others, when we have a practice like this all the time, we bring that to the world. So don't think that this is no small contribution. We don't know what we could be contributing. We just don't know. But what is inherent in it is it seems very worthwhile, very real, very precious. And so why not? Why not? We have that option. I see a question, but let's just hold it for a sec, okay? So, One of the lovely aspects of being conscious and more conscious, and always returning to consciousness and awareness, is this sense of not knowing. If we're really bound to the societal value structure, we only value knowing. And in this tradition and in this practice, it becomes very clear what we don't know. And that too, we can think of when we wonder about the value of this practice. We don't know. I don't know. But that does not mean that it is not infinitely valuable in some mysterious way. It has survived through many cultures, through 3,000 years since the historical Buddha, and before then, in one of our arrays of ancestors, we talk about the 7 Buddhas before Shakyamuni Buddha. There have been many Buddhas after Shakyamuni Buddha. Buddha meaning a human being who's really awake, who's really contributing love and wisdom. So please, everybody, really value your practice. Don't skimp. It may be this day that makes a very big difference for you or somebody you don't even know, through the energy of your own consciousness juice. So that's why we dedicate our practice, because we do not know. So we give it forth. Peter, you had a question or a comment?
It was just to request you to restate the prior 30 seconds. What I heard was, don't think that this is no small contribution. And I could guess what you mean, but I just wanted to give you a chance to just restate the point.
Well, I don't know what to say. Maybe I could say that the culture that we live in is so filled with greed, hatred, and ignorance of our blessings and our innate capacities. And there's a lot of skepticism and cynicism. And so, at the very least, if we walk through this world in a way that is not cynical, which is it's what cynicism is, first of all, aversion, criticism, separateness, fear. I mean, there's a lot that goes into cynicism. Longing to be part of and accepted, right? Longing to know. If we don't carry ourselves in that state of mind, but instead are innocent, in a way, we regain our innocence of heart while knowing full well the difficulties in the world. It does not have to pinch our love off, our humor, our willingness to take chances, our vulnerability. So this is no small, even to come forth as a non-cynical human being in this day and age is something very important, I think. Probably each of you would answer this question in different ways, and that you would all capture it. Why this is no small matter. It's part of the dignity of the noble way. You know that phrase, noblesse oblige. Noblesse oblige is referring to how nobility obliges. You know, if you realize that you have inherited the world, then you are here to serve. That's all I have tonight. Thank you so much for listening.